Hi, guys. Welcome back to I Will Go Down with the Ship, where we dive deep into the world of storytelling. Today, we're talking about one of the most crucial elements of your novel, the first line. A great first line can hook your readers instantly, set the tone for your story, and leave a lasting impression. But how do you craft that unforgettable line? Well, sit down because I'm about to tell you. From "It was the best of times, it was the worst of times" to "Call me Ishmael," these opening lines have become iconic. But what makes them so effective? And how can you create a first line that captures your reader's attention right from the start? Before we dive into tips, let's talk about why the first line is so important. The opening sentence of your book is your first opportunity to grab your reader's attention. It sets a tone for the rest of the story and gives the readers a taste of what's to come. A strong line can make the difference between a reader turning the page or putting your book down. Especially if you're writing in first person, this also hints at the writer's voice. Not even the writer, the character's voice, excuse me. We want to know, is this someone that we are willing to hang with for the next 3, 4, 5 hours, however long it takes to read your book? Is this somebody that you can go have a drink with, that you can gossip with over coffee, that you can just, that you're fine investing this time? Because everyone is so busy and we don't always have time. And when we make it, we want to know that we're making it for something that we're excited about. So, tip number one, start with a hook. Your first line should immediately pull the reader in, making them curious about what's going to happen next. This could be a surprising statement, an intriguing question, or a vivid image, something that grabs attention and doesn't let it go. Take George Orwell's 1984. It was a bright, cold day in April, and the clocks were striking 13. This line immediately creates a sense of unease and makes readers want to know more. It's strange, it's kind of unsettling, and it's intriguing, all elements of a great hook. When crafting your first line, think about what will make your readers want to keep going. Can you reveal or suggest something that's going to spark their curiosity? Sometimes it's about creating a contradiction or presenting something unexpected. Using that line, think about it. Clocks don't strike 13. So when it says that they do, it makes me want to keep going and be like, oh, are we like, what? How is this even possible? Like, what's going on here? You can do the same thing. Just keep in mind, you don't want to force it. You don't want to force a hook if it is completely irrelevant to your story just to create a hook, right? A lot of the times people think, okay, starting in action means that we're going to start in a fight. And you know what? Sometimes that works. But if we don't even know who your character is, why are we going to care about them, whether they're fighting or whether they're waking up from a dream, right? Don't do that last example. But what I'm trying to say is you need to hook us enough where we want to keep reading in order to learn about your character so we can then sympathize or empathize with your character. So then we will care if they're in a fight. Anyway, let's get back to the tips. Tip number two, set the tone. Your first line should give readers a sense of what to expect from your story. Whether it's lighthearted, dark, mysterious, or thrilling, the tone should be clear from the very beginning. For example, in Pride and Prejudice, Jane Austen opens it with, "It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife." This line perfectly sets the tone for the wit and social commentary that follows. The tone is everything. It tells your readers how they should feel as they begin your story. And to go off that, your tone that you are presenting through your text, through that first line, should match the tone of your blurb as well as the cover. Your job is to create an experience for the reader. If I go because I want to read a dark romance and the first line does not meet my expectations of like, we're just in the middle of some spaceship battle or something, I'm going to literally be like, what am I doing here? So when you're crafting your first line, keep in mind your cover, your blurb, sometimes even your author brand, or even the series tone in general. Everything should line up. This is part of that marketing that we're entwining with our writing. So this is just like a quick aside. Think about the mood that you want to create. Is your story a suspenseful thriller, a whimsical fantasy, or a heartfelt drama? Your first line should reflect that mood and give readers a taste of what is to come. Tip number 3, introduce a character or a setting. A strong first line can immediately ground your readers in your story's world. And the quicker that we can do that, the more likely it is that they're going to continue reading. Whether you're introducing them to a character or a place, make it vivid and engaging. J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit starts with, "In a hole in the ground there lived a hobbit." This line does double duty. It introduces us to the protagonist and the setting, and it instantly makes us curious about this hobbit and the world he lives in. He lives in the ground, you know. Anyway, when you introduce a character or setting in your first line, focus on what makes them unique or interesting. What can you show readers that will make them want to learn more about this world or this person? Tip number 4, pose a question or present a mystery. One way to hook your readers is to give them a puzzle to solve or a question to ponder right from the start. This can create an irresistible urge to keep reading. Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged opens with the line, "Who is John Galt?" And I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. This question becomes a central theme of the novel, and it immediately draws readers into the mystery. It's simple, but incredibly effective. And you don't have to be writing a mystery in order to kind of pose a mystery. Alessandra Torres does a great talk on this in her InkersCon presentation about suspense. You could be writing a romance and still create suspense without it needing to be life or death. And this is really, really important if you can do this in that first line as well. When crafting your first line, think about what question or mystery lies at the heart of your story. Maybe even use your theme. How can you hint at this in a way that makes readers want to find out more? Tip number 5, be concise and impactful. The best first lines are often short, but packed with meaning. They deliver a punch without unnecessary words, making them easy to remember and giving you a long lasting impression. Herman Melville's Moby Dick begins with just 3 words, "Call me Ishmael." It's simple, but it carries weight, immediately introducing us to the narrator and his mysterious, almost mythic persona. Challenge yourself to make every word in your first line count. Strip away anything that doesn't add to the impact and focus on delivering a powerful, memorable opening. Tip number 6, reflect the story's theme. Your first line can also serve as a microcosm of your entire story, hinting at the themes you'll explore throughout the book. Remember, I talked about theme? J.M. Barrie's Peter Pan starts with, "All children, except one, grow up." This line not only sets up the story's premise, but also introduces us to the central theme of childhood versus adulthood. It's a brilliant example of how a first line encapsulates the essence of a story, and it's Peter Pan. I love it. When crafting your first line, think about the larger themes of your story. How can you hint at these themes in a way that's subtle, but intriguing at the same time? And finally, tip number 7, test and refine your first line. Don't be afraid to write multiple versions of your first line until you find the one that feels right. Sometimes the perfect first line doesn't come immediately, but with a little tweaking, you can find one that truly shines. Try writing several different versions and see which one resonates the most. Share it with a critique partner or a writing group to get feedback. And remember, it's totally okay to come back and refine your first line after you finished your draft. And if you're indie publishing, you can go back and do that even after you've published. Your first line is your first impression, so take the time to make it count. Whether you're aiming for something bold and attention grabbing or subtle and thought provoking, the key is to craft a line that sticks with your readers long after they've put the book down. So, really quick, let's just recap. To craft an unforgettable first line, start with a hook, set the tone, introduce a character or a place, pose a question or a mystery, be concise and impactful, reflect the story's theme, and after doing all of that, Don't be afraid to test and refine until it feels perfect. Remember, the first line is just the beginning, but it's a beginning that can set the stage for everything that follows, including your author brand, your series, the rest of the books in the series. Make it count, and your readers will be hooked from the very first word. But that's it for today's video. If you found these tips helpful, please don't forget to like and hit that subscribe button for more writing advice. And let me know in the comments, what's your favorite first line from a novel? I'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much for watching and happy writing.